So I was recording the session. That's why I came back. So today's session is about APIs, and the title of the session is API 101 using Postman. We will be using Postman to explain what APIs is to you guys, who some of you guys might know about Postman, and some of you all have already worked around the Postman and APIs. So today's session is about APIs and all things APIs. So moving forward to our session. So who am I? So my name is Daniel Ijaz, and I'm currently a second year computer science student at the University of Sawabi. I am a Postman student expert. Also, I'm a beta Microsoft Learn student ambassador and the community lead for Microsoft Learn student ambassador University of Sawabi chapter. Also, I'm leading OWASP Sawabi and the CMX Sawabi chapter that we initialized last month. Mainly my work is around like I am passionate about data science, AI, and web development. And also, I'm working around communities here in my region. And recently, I did my internship at Genie AI as an AI research intern. So you guys can know more about me. You can visit my LinkedIn and Twitter, and you guys can then get to know more about me. So moving forward into the agenda of the session is that we will be giving you guys an intro about APIs and Postman, and also the request and responses in APIs and using Postman. And we will be doing a hands-on a session regarding APIs. We will be using different. So Emmanuel, if you can please remove it. So we will be doing a hands-on session about APIs. We will be using a Postman for GET requests, etc. For the session today. And also, yeah, so sorry about that, Naga. So we will be giving you guys an intro about APIs and Postman and request and responses using Postman. We will be doing a hands-on session regarding APIs. We will be using Postman to, to experience different GET requests, different POST requests, fetch requests. We will be discussing it in the session later on. Also, I will be giving you follow-up resources which you guys can, you can know about more in like the later session. And also we will be doing a Q&A at the end of the session. So if you guys have any question, then you can ask in the chat, or guys can open your mic. So we will be understanding what is an API using the example of a digital restaurant. So, for example, if I know many, all of you guys must have visited a restaurant, so we can think of an API as a waiter at a restaurant. Imagine if you go to your favorite restaurant and you want to order, it means that we are the client in that restaurant, and the API is the mediator of the restaurant, and the server basically it is the kitchen in that restaurant. The waiter, in this case, we are the client, and we are sending our request to the waiter, who will tell the kitchen. So so the waiter is like the mediator in between the server, which is in our example case is the kitchen, and we are the client. So for example, if the waiter will come to you and we will ask you that what we want to order, in this case our order is like our request, and the API will fetch that request to the kitchen, and then the kitchen will give the API, which is the waiter in our example case, and then it will give a response back to the client. So in this case, the API is the mediator of our digital restaurant. We can also I can also give you guys another example. Uh, Another example of the APIs is like if we go to our ATM machine, we insert our card and then we use the ATM machine and to get some cash from the ATM machine. In this case, we are the client and the bank is the server, and in the mediator is the ATM machine. We use that ATM machine to fetch some cash from the bank. In this case, the API is the mediator between the server and the client. So what is an API? An API is like API stands for Application Programming Interface. It allows user to services to communicate with each other. Software development has become more and more collaborative, complex, but more collaborative over the years. Developers no longer need to create every service from scratch. APIs allow developers to access data from the server, from a service like Google, Microsoft, and Twitter without any knowledge of their code base that has been implemented. The APIs are used to interact and communicate with different systems. APIs basically restricts access to the entire system to someone. It uses particular whoever wants to parts of our data, we provide them with the requested data to an API and the proper API endpoints and keys so that the data can be monitored easily. Moving forward, the APIs, they are used to interact and communicate with different systems. If you want to get a service from the data from a service like Google or Microsoft or Twitter, we used the API to access the data without having a knowledge about their code spaces or that have been implemented. So in APIs, you guys will understand through this example that we are discussing over here, like billions and billions of people own smartphones and use them to share photos. So I have got some chat questions. Can anyone confirm that you guys can hear my audio? Some of you guys. Yeah. Thank you so much for confirming. Thank you, Lucky. Glad to see you here. So billion and billion people own smartphones and use them to share their photos on social networks. This wouldn't be possible without APIs. So if we are sharing our photos using a smartphone networking application like Instagram, for example, it involves uses it uses different types of APIs. First, if we want to take a picture, the social networking mobile application, like in our case, we have Instagram. It uses the uses the smartphone camera via its API. It uses an API to access the smartphone camera. Then, though its API, it can use some image library embedded into the application to invert the photo color, which in our case is the filters. If we are accessing the filters, we are using it via the API. And eventually, when it shares the modifies photo by sending it to the server application hosted on the social network server. It uses a remote API accessibility via a network, which is usually our internet. So in this scenario, we are using three different APIs that are involved, which is the hardware API and the hardware API, which is the camera of our smartphone, and the library, which is the filter in our case, and a remote API, which is used to host our picture on that particular application. So there is an API for everything. Like there is a Cat API. Nowadays, Open AI has an API which is very and in the trend right now. There are different AI APIs right now that we use to create chatbots, etc. And similarly, we have Spotify API and Open Weather API and Twitter and each and everything has an API right now. We uses that API for our purposes, like different purposes. And there are so many other APIs that YouTube to MP3 and the AI summarizer apps, etc. Postman also has a project on that. We will be discussing it in our session later on. So we can APIs turn software into Lego bricks. this looks like a software version of the Lego brick system. Those plastic blocks that you can put together to create new things, like someone we can create an house from that, and also children play with it. So we can understand API as the Lego block. When we were children, we used to play with Lego bricks for endless hours, and we will be creating different buildings and cars and planes and spaceships or whatever we wanted. So when we were bored with our creations, we would destroy it completely and build another, any other thing from that Lego bricks. So we could transform the replacing by replacing it some of its parts. So I could even put existing structure together to create a massive spaceship. Like for example, it's the same in the API world. You can decompose huge system of software bricks that can be easily reassembled and replace thanks to APIs. And there are minor differences, we can replace that different functionality using an API. So in this case, APIs turn software into Lego bricks. We can rebuild, we can create an API. We can do particular functions we can give to the API, that API. So now moving on, what is Postman? For what is Postman? We have talked about APIs. We would be now talking about Postman. So Postman is a collaborative API development platform that allows users to create, test, and run APIs. Postman is an industry standard tool that we use to do API testing, and Postman is an API platform for building and using APIs. Postman simplifies each step of its API life cycle and streamlined collaboration, so you can create better APIs and faster. We can design, test, mock, monitor, document, and discover API using Postman. If you are confused about what that means, don't worry. We will be giving you guys a hands-on experience on how to use Postman today, and we will be making a different API request. You guys will see what it's all about. Because of the Postman, that its helpful features around APIs, the tool has become an industry standard tool used by many top companies and individual developers like us. So Postman is an industry standard tool. Postman is a collaborative API development platform that simplifies creating, using, testing APIs with a UI. We will be giving you a hands-on experience in the next session. So like APIs, the Postman is used by many Fortune 500 organizations like PayPal, Philips, and Atlassian and Uber, and it is used by 65% of the global 2000 organizations, and it is used by more than 5 lakh organizations worldwide, and 23 million developers uses Postman. So it is an industry standard tool for collaborative API development platform that simplifies creating, using, and testing APIs with a UI. So basically, before Postman, we will be using the command line. We will be giving creating different API requests. We would be using command line, which is kind of hectic, when we see the UI. But in nowadays, the now version of the Postman is that we have an API, a particular beautiful UI user interface of the Postman, which makes it easier for the developer. It simplifies the process of we using a simple UI and a collaborative platform to work in our APIs. So there are different request and responses using Postman. So the request response pattern is, as already I discussed, we have a client and a server, and in between we have a network that a client sends the request, and the server gives the response to the client. So in this case, we have a client is the entity that makes a request to a server. Some example of the clients are applications like web browsers, and the server is control resources and services. An API is the interface that that exposes these resources and services to clients in a network. The client can interact with an API like by making the request and then over the network to the API, and the API will then evaluate the request performed like the required operation that the developer is sending to the developer or the client is sending to the server. So we maybe like interact with a database or other APIs, then send a require then the server send a response back to the client. So Postman is a client that allows you to make requests and view responses from the browser. So basically, we will be making different with different types of requests. So someone is like So we will be making different requests and how we interact with the API. So there are basically three ingredients to make a simple request. There is a method, an address, which is our case in a URL and a path. So we will be making in the methods we have different type of requests like get, put, page, and delete request and many others. But we will be discussing it in the session later on. So requests are how like we communicate with the API. And regarding the methods, we have different methods in our Postman. Like we have a get method, a post method, a put method, and we will be needing three materials over there. Like we will be needing a method, an address, and a path. So these elements let the API know what kind of request we are making and where to send the request. So so in this case, like if we are like sending a request to the API, we will be like doing it hands-on in the session later on. But like we will be like pasting the URL. In this case we have like HTTPS, which is the protocol and the scheme of the request. www.google.com is the host, and the address, the URL of the request that we are making, and the search is the path that we are destination where the request can be heard and executed. So there are different types of methods in Postman. Like we have a get method, a post method, and so we have a get method which is used to retrieve some information. We have a post method that we use to send some information, and we have a foot and a page method which is used to update information. What is the difference between a foot method and a page method? Page method is used to like like to not change the whole code, the whole like the whole functionality, and the foot method is used to change like the whole functionality of the thing that we are sending the request upon. And the delete operation is like used to delete information. So these are some of the so what is the difference, like the post, put, and page method? And so in a nutshell, we use post method for creating operation, we use put method for updating operation, and we use page for partial update operation, like not for the whole operation that we are updating. So specifying some details, like So when we make an API call with a get method, it will usually retrieve, I mean, everything from the URL address. Like, this can be pretty overwhelming. Like in the parameters, we can change the parameters. We can ask them some certain queries, or filter out the response, so that we can get the specific data that we are looking upon. And next upon the authorization operation. Like there are multiple authorization operations in Postman or API testing. Like for example, there is functionality, reliability, security, performance, and usability authorizations. But we are having our API 101 session, so we won't go over the full details of the authorization. But in general, authentication is like, lets the API know what permissions the client has, and determines what data can be requested. This typically starts off out with verifying the developer or the user. One of the most common authorization that you will see, and one we will be using today, is the API key. Other form of organization include tokens, and client ID are client secret keys. But authorization is used by the server, that what it need to show to the developer, that what he want to access. That the authorization is used to, like, by the server, so that it can let the developers what it want to see to the developers. And the headers are the metadata for the request. Some API requires you to send a particular header that is not only shown in the URL, unlike how parameters show the key value pair. So it is a common practice to send some authorization data, like access tokens are such in the header, that we have different data types over there. And finally, there is the body. There is mainly the body is used to for the put and page methods. Like, we want to update some information, we use the body of the request. And we can then need to specify what we want to send the request for. And typically we will be using a JSON object in the body. So we will be discussing it in the session later on. So request body. So the request body is a JSON JavaScript object notation file. So we have a name which is specified over here, an email and birth date, and often supplied with the post and put request, as I already discussed. Like we have different types of data types. Like, we have an HTML file, an XML file, or a GraphQL file, and a JSON file, and form data. Uh, and for receiving responses, we have different types of status code, which is like, the 200 series, and 100 series, and like, we have a different type of HTTP response code, indicates like, whether a specific HTTP request has been successfully completed or not. And we have different types of response elements that are grouped into, like, 5 classes. We have informational responses, like 100 series, and successful information responses, like, which is the 200 series. We have the redirect responses, which is the 300 series. We will be discussing this particular status code in the hands-on session in a few minutes from now on. And then we have the client error responses, which is the 400 series, and the server error responses, which is the 500 series. You guys won't know about it, but in the next few minutes, you guys will know about it. And then we have the headers, which are the metadata for the request. Some APIs requires you to send, like, particular headers, not only shown in the URL, but how the parameters show the key value pair. It is a common practice to send some authorization data, like access tokens and such, in the header. And then there is finally the body, which is used to send the put or page request. For the post or for put methods, where you need to specify what kind of data you need to send a request for. And we will using JSON file for that also. So let's work with the real API. I'm sharing my screen from now on, so you guys can go to this URL, or I'm sharing my Postman first of all. You guys can head over to postman.com and you can download the Postman agent, or also you can use the Postman using the your browser, and you can download the app for your systems. And if you prefer a browser experience, you can also try the web version of the Postman. You can download it for Windows and Mac also, and then you can use Postman for doing some API testing and some other stuff. I'm sharing my screen right now with you guys in a few minutes. So this is basically the UI of Postman. We have our workspace, we have our home tab, our API network, we have our profile, and then we have, like, the collections that we are sending the API requests for. We have covered our collection, which include different type of requests, and we have the environments, we have the history tab, and all of this stuff. I will be sharing this particular collection with you guys after the session with you guys. So let's get started with doing some basics of API. We will be making some different type of requests, like the get request, and post request, and put request, and delete request. So whenever we are talking about documentation, in our development, we use different type of documentations so that we can address and create some of the API requests. So this is our endpoint URL, as we discussed in our session. So we will be doing some API testing over here in on this URL. So I'm sharing my screen. So what how this look like in, yeah. So this is the URL that we are addressing for currently. So let's do a get request for this particular URL. Yeah. So we need to add our, this is the request. This is basically the UI of Postman. We have different types of requests from the drop down over here. We have a get request, a post request, a put request, a fetch request, and a delete request. This is particularly the five basic requests that we developers used to make. And there's also some of our other, requests. And then we have the URL area where we have to, to paste our URL over here. And then we have the send button over here to send our request. And then we have the response or area over here. We have the parameters area so that we need to specify what we want to make the request for. And then we have the authorization, which we were talking about. There are different type of authorizations, like node, basic auth, bearer token, JWT bearer, etc., etc. And then there is headers, and there is a body. We have where we have to, like, denote a JSON file. And then we have settings, different type of pre-request script and tests and headers, etc. So let's do some of the hands-on requests. Let me copy the URL from over here. We will be getting a request. So we are telling the API, the Postman, to get us and retrieve some information from this particular protocol with a URL. API 101.up.railway.app, and using the search parameter, like we want to third joke in the URL that we are requesting for. We have to send the request. Now it is retrieving some information from the server. So this is basically it retrieved some information there, like it's with an ID 3 as we specified over here. We have a 200 OK status code, like the operation was successful in the HTTP request that we are making for. So basically, what it did was it sent a request from Postman with a GET request, which is used to retrieve some information from the particular URL, and then we have an ID 3 and with the other named NA, and we have a joke that who is a programmer. A programmer is a machine who turns copy into code, and like for example the source. So it did an API, a GET request for an API. Now we will be making different type of other requests, we will be creating we first created retrieve some information using the GET request, and then we will be using we will be adding a post request to add to some information to the URL, and then we will be creating a put request to update that information, and then a delete, so that we will request delete the data that we added. So we did a GET request. Now we will be making a post request. We created another title for it. This is the base URL, and this is the thing that we are searching for. So we will be creating a post request right now. Yeah, we will be creating a post request. We will be sending this post request using the send button. We have the body of the URL. We will this is an example of the body that the APIs accept. So we have a JSON format file over here, and we will be using this to get some things done. We are getting a post request to create some information, and other I will give my name to it. We are also specifying some cool request, some cool features. So in the joke we will be getting bugs are cool features, and then I will give it like daniel.dev. We send a request. Now let's see. It is a 201 created a status code like this. The request has been fulfilled and resulting in a new resource being created. So we will move to the URL. Now we will see if it is added or not. Yeah, so you guys can see that my API, I did retrieve some information from the URL that we are making the request for. What we did was, in the first get request, we retrieved information like the third parameter, like who is a programmer with an NA user, and a visit source, like who is a programmer. A programmer is a machine who turns coffee into code. And then we used a post request to create some information, I in this case I did was like in other I stated my name, which is stated over here, Daniel Ijaz, and then in the joke I added that bugs are cool features. So over here we have created bugs are cool features using an API and using Postman. And then in the source, what I did was I give my URL like daniel.dev. So this is we created an operation over here using the post operation. Now we will be using a put operation to update some information. So in this case, I will move into the documentation. then we will be using a put request to update an existing joke. Like for example, I did the base URL that we created, and then we will be using the put request to to change to update the entire object on the server, so that the added updated data in the body of the your request. Like we will be using the put request to update some of the information that we already posted over there. So in the base URL, I will be creating a new request, which is the put request. I have the base URL. Let's get we can also get information about like the request that we created on. Like I will send the request to retrieve some information that what is on the 7080 ID. So it retrieved me some information from the URL that on the ID 7080 we have another Daniel, whose name is Daniel Ijaz, with a joke that bugs are cool features, and the source that Daniel.dev. So it shows us the get request. Now we will be using the put request to update some information. Like for example, if I move over here, no, let's move into documentation. We will copy it from over here and then paste it in our body, which is the JSON format. Now we paste it on our body. We have a 7080 ID over here of our request that we created. 7080. We will paste the ID over here. It is basically JSON is basically the format that the data is structured upon. Like we have the curly braces, and we have an ID and author and joke and source. This is particularly the JSON format. So on the 7080, I stated that we are currently updating this particular request that we created upon this URL. So we will be updating that particular thing. So I can add only Daniel. We are updating the ID 70 this particular. So in this case, we will be removing the EJAS from over here and updating the bugs are cool and amazing features. So we in the joke, like for example, basically it was bugs are cool feature, but now it will be updating using the put request that bugs are cool and amazing features. The cool was already added over there, and amazing will be added over there, and then I can update my URL. So we will be sending this request using the put request to update the particular ID over there. So it is sending the request. Now we will be having our status code run over here. It is currently updating the URL and the request that we created upon that URL. So it is currently 204 no content that the server successfully processed the request, and it is not currently returning any feature. So let's update the URL. Now you guys will see that there will be updating. Like we remove the EJAS from over here using the put request, and the bugs are cool and amazing feature. Like for example, we updated it over there, and then we also updated idaniel.dev. Hope you guys have understood it. The post and get and post and put request. Now we will be doing a delete request over here. So a delete is a request is used to delete a particular uh, like if you want to delete some API calls, and also that the particular thing that we created over here, if you want to delete, we will be using a delete request to delete that certain part of from the URL. So let's see. we have to come over to the documentation. And then to delete a joke that we created upon that URL, we will be pasting its base URL, which is the API 101 dot railway dot app, and also the joke that and the ID of their joke. So, and the brackets are not required in this part. So in this particular thing, we will be heading over to the delete request. We have our ID 7080, like, if you can see it over here in the foot request, if we have an ID 7080 for this particular thing. So this joke will be now deleted from the URL using the delete request. So let's see. We have the delete request. We have pasted the URL, the base URL, then the joke, and stated the pathway, the search pathway, and also the ID over here. Now we will send the request. After sending the request, this particular joke will be deleted from this URL. Let's see. We have sent the request, which returned us with the 200 OK status code, which is like, the operation was successful, and we have created a successful HTTP request. Now the joke with ID 7080 is deleted. Let's update the URL. So yeah, we have successfully deleted the joke from that particular URL. So this basically the hands-on of the Postman. Like, we created different type of requests. We created a GET request. We created a POST request. We created a PUT request, and we created a del request. Like, we created a GET request to get some particular information about the jokes from the URL. Then we created a POST request to, like, create some information, like create a joke in this URL. And then we created a PUT request to update some information regarding our joke. And then we created a del request, which is a delete request to delete that particular joke. So yeah, that is the basic operation and the hands-on that we created. Let me share my screen again. So you guys can go over to this particular QR code to get access to this documentation that I already shared over here. I will also be sharing this in the group, Postman Community Pakistan, so you guys can join the community, and can become a part of their community. We will be sharing all the required resources over there. Now, in a recap, that we learned about different type of request essentials, and we learned about Postman, how to create and retrieve and update API data. We learned about addresses. We learned about methods. We learned about parameters, like, to specify information. We learned about body data and response codes. So there are, particularly as I discussed, there are different types of response code, like, if if I show you the response code that I'm talking about, like, this is a 200 OK status code. Like, we have this is the successful information responses, and then we have the information responses, which is the 100x series, and also the 300x, which is the redirect responses, and then we have the client responses, which is the 400 series, and then we have the server error responses from the server side, which is the 500 series. You guys can continue your learning as an API for the APIs, as the Postman API Fundamental Student Express certification that Postman offers. It is an API and Postman training created by the Postman team themselves. Postman Student Expert page to showcase online to future employers that you are currently, like, you learned about Postman and the Postman API Student Fundamental Expert, and exclusive access to the Postman meetups and events like Postman Galaxy, and different, like the Postman, like currently Postman Con is going on, and invitation to online Postman student expert program community, and have the option to become a student leader in your community. I am sharing my screen right now for you guys. Let's see. you guys can head over and learn about Postman student. So this is basically the student program that Postman offers the student expert certification, and then the student leader program, and also and exclusive student programs available over there on their website. You can head over to postman.com/student program and student expert. Basically, a student program that Postman offers. You can head over to postman.com/student program, and you can explore their programs for student and educators. There is a student expert program that will get you a free access to, like, the API learnings. Like, you can head over to Postman student expert program, and you can get a badge from over there. You can elevate your software development and API knowledge to help you gain in your career. Like, you can learn about APIs and some other stuff. And then after becoming a student expert and availing their certification and badge, then you can apply for a student leader program, and then you can represent your university or your campus and teach your peers about APIs by becoming a student leader, Postman leader. You can also head over to the link that Lucky provided to you guys. Thank you so much, Lucky, for providing the link over there. So you can head over to this website, and you can learn about the student expert program. You can get access to API and trainings from Postman team in themselves that they created for you guys to learn more about API development and API testing. And Postman student expert page will be given to you guys after completing this particular student expert program, and you guys will get exclusive access to Postman meetups and Postman events like Postman Galaxy and the Postman user conference. And you guys will be given a particular student community where you guys can learn about more about, like, the student Postman expert certification. So you guys will apply to be a student expert. It is a pre-certification program offered by Postman for you guys to learn more about API development and API testing. You guys can head over here, and you can submit over here and start your learning as an API student expert. Then we have the Postman student leader program. Like, you have to become a leader. After becoming a Postman student leader, you can educate. You can become a leader, an educator, and advocate for API literacy on your campus. As a Postman student leader, you will get access to Postman's resources and organize events on your campus, just like I am organizing currently my event on my campus on the virtual session. But I also will be organizing some more sessions on my campus. And then we have the Postman student leader badge for you guys to showcase to your online and future employers an opportunity to speak and participate in the Postman events, and also for student leader program community. And then we have the Postman classroom program, which bring API education to the classroom from our programs to the educators. And then you guys can get an access to educational API services and some more opportunities for your student to earn student expert certification and free licenses to students using the educator program. The eligibility criteria for it is you need to be a student for it, like, for the student expert program. Now moving forward, so you guys can apply over here, and yeah, it's completely free. You don't need to be a student, for example. Like, you can be currently working, or also If you are not working, you can always apply for the a Postman API fundamental student expert certification. Like for the student leader, we have the eligibility criteria that you need to be like a student on your campus right now. And for the Postman API student fundamental certification, you can always scan this QR code. You can visit the link over given over here, the https slash bit.ly API of Postman dash Postman dash certificate, and you guys can learn more about the Postman API fundamental student certification, expert certification. Now, there is an opportunity for you guys to win some of the amazing swag provided by the Postman. Like you can share your learnings from today's session on Twitter or LinkedIn, and you guys can take a with the given hashtag the Postman student leader and the hashtag Postman, and you can earn some amazing swag. Like within 24 hours of this workshop, you guys need to this is a social media challenge for you guys, so to post on LinkedIn and Twitter that what you guys learned about in today's session, like within hashtag Postman student. Also, if in the second challenge, you have to like for the above challenge, we have different specs, and for the below challenge, the blog writing, we have different specs. So you guys can always participate in these two challenges. Like for the blog competition, share you have to share write a blog about your experience and get a chance to win an amazing spec from Postman. You will need to write that what you learned during this session on your favorite platform like Medium or Dev.to, and send it to me Daniel Ijaz 483@gmail.com, or you can always send me on LinkedIn and send it to us, and we will be send you some amazing cool for your blog. You can submit your blog URL to organizers that what you learned in today's session, and we will you will get a chance to win some of the amazing swag provided by the Postman. For swag entries, I will be sharing a form with you guys. So yes, after sending after submitting your response, you can get a chance to win some of the amazing stores, some of the amazing swags from Postman. I'm sharing the link with you guys. Also, for your continued learning, you can always visit learning.postman.com, which is the learning center provided by Postman, and you guys can learn more about APIs and what are APIs, and you can learn more about the requests and all of this stuff. And also, we have then the explore.postman.com, which is the API network that you guys can learn more about the APIs, and the community.postman.com, which is the forum that where different students and experts are there, student experts are there for you guys to learn more about APIs. You can ask any questions over there, and you guys can then learn about the APIs. So for the Q&A right now, if you guys have any questions, any particular questions regarding the APIs, you can always get a hands on, and I will answer. I will be really happy to give you some of the responses to your questions. You guys can ask any question if you guys want. In the comment and the chat section, you can always ask any question. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lucky. I am currently working on web development and data science. Saad. Anyone have any questions regarding APIs and all things API? If you guys have any beginner questions, you guys can always ask. Thank you so much for attending, Atik. Oh, that's nice, Sat. You can head over to Postman and you can learn more about the APIs. Yeah, yeah. Hagar. Thank you so much, Lucky. So Madiha, you can explore more of the Postman. Like you can always visit as I told. Like I'm sharing the links right now with you guys so that you can learn more about the Postman. I have shared a link with you guys with you, Madiha, so that you know. Yeah, I'm sharing the link. Don't worry about that. Yeah, you can always test different APIs and different particular APIs that you are want to work upon. You can always use some dummy APIs and also always create some APIs. Some other questions if you guys have. So I have tested the Postman Swag challenge that you guys need to like uh, submit some of the challenges that we provided. Like if you want to submit your Swag challenge, you have to you can share your learning on LinkedIn and Twitter, and you can get a chance to win some swag, or you can always write a blog about today's learning from today's session and get some more of what you learned in today's session, and so you can share in a blog on dev.to or Medium and get a chance to win some of the amazing swags provided by Postman. Some more question if you guys have. You can head over to resources like learning.postman.com. As Madiha asked a question like how can we explore more, you can head over to these URLs and you can learn more about Postman. Yeah, I'm working on some of the web development projects, two of them right now, which is a car rental app, and another one is like and a chatbot that I'm currently working on. Thank you so much, Lucky, for attending today's session. If you guys If you have any questions regarding our today's session, like around Postman and APIs, you can always ask your questions. If you don't have any questions, you can, share it in the chat that you are okay with and you have no questions around the Postman and APIs so that I can continue. You can use different databases for APIs, Saad, like SQL and MongoDB, SQLite, Redis, etc. It depends upon your practice. No worries, Atik. Thank you so much for attending today's session. If you guys don't have any questions, we can head over to the last section of our session. So thank you so much for attending today's session, everyone. You can always, give your feedback using the link provided over here. I'm sharing the link with you guys. You guys can, give me some feedback and what you have learned today, or, if you guys have any questions, you can always email me at danielijazport@gmail.com. I am sharing the feedback form link for you guys to send your feedback to me on what you learned and what you guys learned in today's session. You can head over to the feedback form and provide your feedback to me uh, using the particular form. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.